where we get into what we started last month, our series of hard topics. And we have a lot of new faces today, so I'm gonna go ahead and explain what that is. Hard topics is where we get together and we do a little bit of dialogue on the topics and things that we don't normally talk about or get to really express in church. And maybe ask some questions or say something that, I don't really get to share this with anybody. So, and it pertains to what we've been dealing with. So last month, just to do a very short recap, last month we talked about overcoming and what that looked like and the cause for war. Why is it that we go through warfare in our lives? Why is it that I'm the one that's singled out, it feels like, and it just seems like the enemy just keeps throwing things at me. And we talked about that what it is really is that we learned in Genesis that the enemy really just wants to have us forfeit the three things that we carry. That's our purpose, it's our position, our purpose, and our power. And he wants those three things from us because he can't take it from us, but if he would want us to forfeit it. And so what he tries to do is bring temptation like he did to Adam and Eve. He brought it to Eve, he brought the temptation to forfeit her position, her purpose, and her power. And so out of that forfeit, a lot of things changed, we know that. And so what we did discover though, was that what makes us the target is when there's a misalignment. When we know something, but our heart believes something else. And so when that happens, when there's not an alignment, we become that glowing red target to the enemy, that there's open space to come in and be able to, come in with an assignment and attack or things like that. And so we gave out bracelets last month. Some of us got the bracelets, and they were camouflage bracelets that said victory, courage, fight, and glory. And I'll just share a little bit about what I got and how that translated in my life last month. I got glory. And at first I was like, well, I don't want no glory. I mean, I'm not one that likes the spotlight as it is. And so for me, glory was like, what? But then God was showing me that what that really means is that I need to remember by that bracelet that it's not by my might, but by his glory that things will happen. So that literally gave me a relief, because that made me go, then I don't gotta do nothing but just show up. And God will take care of the rest. And so for others, they got victory. For others, they got courage. For others, they got fight. And so for some people, they were like, oh, that means I'm gonna have to do the fighting. For others, I said, oh God, I gotta have some courage and I'm really afraid, And so I wanna ask, I'll just share a little testimony, and then I wanna ask who wants to come up and share what they got in their bracelets if they want to. And I wanna make a notice here though that we are recording. So if you do come up, you will be on video. And if you don't want to, I understand. But I will share this. I got the bracelet glory, and since our last meeting, we just got invited to, which was totally outside of what I was even expecting. I got a call to make a connection for the Center for Drug-Free Living for Women. And they said they're looking for a curriculum for coaching. That's really exciting, it really is. And they're looking for a curriculum to do some coaching with the women. And I was like, oh, that's great. They said, but you've got to be an evidence-based program. And I said, what is that? What do you mean by that? And so I had to do some research and found out, lo and behold, that no, we're not an evidence-based program. So I said, well, what's the point I'm going if, I don't have really what I need. And so she said, just come out anyway and just talk to her. Once you get to talking to her, you and her are gonna hit it off. Sure enough, I go, and I'm talking with the director of the program, and she says, you don't have the evidence base, but here's the website, register, do what you have to do to get the process started. We'll help you to get what you need to make it become approved. And I was just like, okay. So I go on the website, and I'm a week behind the deadline of what it needed to go on. So I call and I'm like, well, I missed the deadline. She says, keep waiting for it. You put it on when you need to put it on. We need what you have. Amen. Bring it anyway. And so that was just an example that God's glory opens up doors that man can't open, because I didn't have the credentials that they wanted to put in their program. And she says, oh, and if it works here, we've got other facilities that are going to need this too. Amen. And so, sometimes it's not about what we can do. Sometimes you just got to trust that God is either going to do it or he's not. When he calls you to something, he will make a way to make it happen. So is there anyone else bold or brave enough to share? Yeah, don't all stand up at once. Does anybody want to even just share what they got and how it has really, or even just from your seat? You don't even have to be recorded. Share the bracelet you got. And Cheryl, do you want to share something? You want to come up? You look good. You look good. Come this way, Cheryl.
You're looking good, sister.
Okay, so well, let me ask you, Cheryl. What was the bracelet that you got when you came?
Courage.
Courage. So if you got the bracelet courage, do you feel like there was something you were dealing with that was causing you to want to forfeit any of your position, your purpose, or your power?
I'll take it back. Well, the first meeting that we had, I got position. And then the second meeting, I got courage. Well, the first meeting, Kathy had asked me to come up here and talk, right? And I wasn't having none of that. So I was sitting over there, and God kept telling me, you're gonna come up, and you're gonna come up, and you're gonna come up. So finally I did, and I shared, because God had showed me something over in the old building. And what he showed me is that I was gonna be standing up in front of a group of women. Kathy was gonna hand me the mic, and I would be talking. So he flashed that in my memory while I was standing there. So lo and behold, that first session I came up. Second session, I get courage. Well, I went to a supernatural conference up in Jacksonville, and God told me what I was called to do.
Amen.
Well, I wasn't trying to hear that either. And when he told it to me, I heard this
Obedience
voice.
is a process.
I'm working on that. I heard this voice, and I knew it came from the inside, and I was like looking around like, who's that? And I knew, you know, God had told me, well, I went into rebellion mode because I couldn't believe that this God wanted me to do this. I said, you know, I do this. God, you sure you're talking to me? So anyway, through Kathy and a couple of the ladies sitting here, I realized that God was saying, he already told me, he gave me the position, and I was already walking in it.
Amen.
But because he gave a title to it, I had a problem with that now. Because now it's like, oh gosh, no, I really got to walk with it because God told me it. So, you know, just walking in courage is a big thing for me, because standing up in front here, I don't mind being back there and greeting you guys and saying, hey, how you doing? But to come up and be in a spotlight, like Kathy said, you know.
That's awesome. Anybody else before we transition? All right. Well, I just want to encourage you then with that, ladies, that yes, we have victory. You can have courage. You can fight, and God will show the glory.
Amen.
So don't give up. Don't give up your position, your purpose, or your power.